Who would have seen this coming? I mean, honestly, this is so random. I did not expect this. Literally, look, today, if you look on the UFC YouTube channel, the promotion video for Imavov versus Gastelum came out today, like just a few hours ago. And a few hours later now, we're receiving news that it's not even gonna happen. Well, the fight between Imavov versus Gastelum is not happening, but Imavov's still fighting. What happened was pretty much Kelvin Gastelum pulled out of this fight with a mouth injury, and now Sean Strickland will be replacing him in this main event fight. This is not something I expected to see today, not ever, but I mean, here we are. Sean Strickland is headlining back to back fight nights. Not only did he headline the final pay per view event of 2022, he is now headlining the first pay per view event of 2023. That's just wild. I don't really know what to say about that. That's just, in my opinion, I think that's wild. If we look on the UFC website, look at this. Just happened, Kennedy versus Strickland. Now happening, Strickland versus Imavov. That's crazy. Now, if we look at the rankings, let's think about this a little bit. Let's look into this fight, what it means now that it's changed, what has changed, gonna what are likely the new circumstances gonna be now that there is a new opponent in the form of Sean Strickland. So Nassourdine Imavov and Kelvin Gastelum. Imavov is the rising contender. He is coming off of a 4-fight winning streak. He just beat Joaquin Buckley. He's beaten Edmund Shabazian before as well. He's got decent wins, in his resume. And then he was planning on fighting Kelvin Gastelum, who obviously is on the losing streak, has lost to a lot of top contenders at middleweight right now. And a lot of people see him leaving the rankings sometime soon, definitely in the year of 2023, including myself. So, kind of I wouldn't really say a mismatch fight. It's pretty obvious what the UFC is trying to do here in having Imavov make a big enough name for himself. Coming from the French background, they can build their own hype there in that hometown. And obviously, MMA now being legal in France, they're going to try to capitalize on that as much as possible. They can't really do it on Cyril Gane right now because I'm pretty sure he's out with injury that he should be healing up sometime soon, because it has been a few months since that injury has happened. But putting him up against someone like Kelvin Gastelum, big enough name and winnable enough fight, it's a pretty good move by the UFC, I can't lie. But I think the only issue was that Gastelum was ranked below him, and only one place below him. So Imavov being ranked 12th and Kelvin Gastelum being ranked number 13, it's just a little bit of like an inconvenience, I guess, for Imavov. He should be fighting guys who are, or I'd assume he should want to be fighting guys who are above him in the ranking so that he can climb up. But I think right now what him and the UFC are trying to do is make a big enough name for himself and get him really put him on the map, essentially, to really get his name out there and to get him more credibility and people talking about him and more hype. That's what I'm thinking. And to put him up against Kelvin Gastelum, it's perfect. That's exactly the way to do it. And I think just having one more fight before really trying to go for those higher ranked guys, I think is perfect. So disregard what I said, scratch that. I think Imavov versus Gastelum, I think it's good for Imavov for sure. I wouldn't say the same for Gastelum, but good enough fight, winnable fight for Imavov, maybe a good move from the UFC. Now with Gastelum being out, this perfect fight for Imavov. Since that's off of the table, what now? What does the UFC come up with? Obviously, it won't be Adesanya or Whitaker or Cannonier Or actually, it could have been Cannonier. That's true. But I think he's ranked a little bit too high for that. Maybe. Vittori's scheduled. Brunson is scheduled. Costa and the UFC are not on good terms right now. Delize scheduled. Hermanson probably wouldn't take that fight on such short notice. I mean, actually, they could have went to Hermanson as well. And Duplessis is scheduled as well as Muniz. And Imavov doesn't really want to fight anyone like Chris Curtis or Darren Till, even though those are pretty winnable fights. And regardless, they had very recent fights in December on the same card, so they're out of the picture. What now? You pretty much schedule it. No, not schedule it. Pretty much dim it down to like not dim it down. I don't know the word. You from 15 the contenders that you had before, you now have, or I guess 13. You now have two. You have Sean Strickland and Jack Hermanson. And, well, I think it's pretty obvious which one is more fun. Plus, Sean Strickland did beat Jack Hermanson about a year ago, about 11 months ago. So, he's ranked higher. He's winnable, short notice. Coming off of a loss, coming off 2 losses, actually. It is still a very, very good matchup for Imavov if he wants a chance not only to put his name out there, but also if he beats Strickland, not only will he get that recognition, he will also get likely the ranking. Here's the thing, it'll be at a 205-pound catch weight. So I don't really know how the catch weight thing works. I'm still unsure if it's at catch weight, that if you beat the guy at catch weight and you're ranked lower, how that'll affect your ranking in your actual, weight class. I'm pretty sure the ranking will change if Imavov does beat Strickland. I think it should because, a win is a win. But I'm still unsure how that works. Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe it's just normal how I was saying it is. But this is just the reality now. Sean Strickland versus Nassourdine Imavov for January 14th, this Saturday. Fun fight. Strickland always game. Super willing to step in on 6 days' notice to fight someone who's ranked below him. This is a fight that he could very well lose, a fight that could very well set him on a 3-fight losing streak if he is not careful. So the fact that he was able to 100% just step in, no questions asked, and risk his career, his ranking, and his credibility, his popularity, and his respect, I think it's very noble for Sean Strickland to step in on short notice and to pretty much save this fight night. Because if we're being honest, it was kind of falling apart, with Jeff Neal and Shavkat Rakhmonov being removed from the card. It was unsure really if it was gonna hold up to its expectations. Obviously, you got Umar Nurmagomedov on that card. You've got a lot of ranked fighters such as Kelvin Vieira, Raquel Pennington, Dan Ige. Imavov is still going to be on it. So, it could still do well, but that Jeff Neal, Shavkat Rakhmonov movement hurt the card a lot. I think it's better for the UFC in the long run, having it on a pay-per-view instead, but it definitely hurt just UFC Vegas 67 in itself. So with Gastelum pulling out, it's like, well, a lot of people didn't really want to see Gastelum headlining a card. Understandable, for good reason, but it was going to hurt the card nonetheless, especially if Imavov couldn't find an opponent for him. But middleweight is lucky to have a guy and the UFC in general is lucky to have a guy such as Sean Strickland, who's always willing to step in, even if it's on around 6 days' notice. Huge respect to him. Huge respect to both fighters. I can't wait to see them fight. I'm way more excited for this fight than I was for the Gastelum one, because honestly, we were all just gonna watch that fight to place our bets on Imavov, watch him win, watch him rise, and that was just the prediction. That was kind of the whole prediction for this card in general. We were expecting, for example, Umar Nurmagomedov as well to just beat his opponent and then rise up too. But nah, now we're actually getting a really, really fun fight and fun matchup for um, Imavov versus Sean Strickland. We get to see another media day of shit talking and whatever from Sean Strickland. I think this is a super fun fight. I can't wait to see it. And yeah, there's not much else to really say, I guess. Yeah, I think that's it pretty much for what I wanted to talk about. Give my opinions on this, what I think of this new matchup, how it differs from the old one, how it's better, and how it will help one fighter or the other. Because regardless of who wins, it'll definitely likely help the UFC in general. Because Sean Strickland and Nassourdine Imavov are both guys that the UFC should keep, especially with Sean Strickland on his 2 fight losing streak. He's still always fun. He's gonna bring eyes to whatever event he's on. So I think this is a super fun fight. I already said that. Yeah, not much else to say. Nasruddin Imavov versus Sean Strickland this Saturday. Super excited.